Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey and this is a nitty yarny podcast from the southwest of France. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this new episode. I hope you're all doing very well. I hope that I don't seem to have the glare of the window in my glasses, so that's alright. I have a little bit of nice content for you for this episode. I have a pattern release, a finished object, and a couple of things to say about my current works in progress. So I will just get on to it. You can find timestamps to everything that I talk about in the description down below, so if you want to skip anything, feel free to jump ahead. I also put links to everything that I talk about, as well as my social media and patterns for sale on Ravelry. Yay! So I think we can just start right away with what I am wearing, which is a new design that I am releasing just as we speak. The pattern is available on Ravelry and you have seen it as I was making it, but it is the Rumi sweater. So yay! It has been a while since the testing for this pattern. Well, it took a couple of months to allow for testers to finish regardless of the size they were knitting, and so I will just quickly run through again the specifics of that design for you. So it's a bottom-up yoke sweater, so you start either with the sleeves or with the body. I like to start with the sleeves because that way you kind of rid of the stockinette part, and then you have the cables on the body, which are nice big chunky cables and lines of twisted stitches, which is nice and easy to follow. Then you join everything at the yoke, and for this sweater, and I will talk in details about it later to help you figure out fitting issues, this sweater has low armhole. So if you look at my armhole, it is here and this is much below that. It's kind of swan show fit. It is 30 centimeters from the collar down, and then you have the color work. So little trees, little geometric arrows. The light is not the best today, but you can see pretty well the motif, I think. And yes, this is knit in Retrosaria Brusca yarn, which is a worsted weight, worsted 100% Portuguese wool, which is absolutely great and it feels really nice to wear, and you showed both the cables and the color work really nicely. The gauge is about 21 stitches, so you could use a DK weight if you prefer. I believe some of my testers did. It depends on what kind of density of fabric you want, while keeping in mind that obviously color work looks better denser. But yes, I have quite a bunch of things to say about it. So it is bottom up, but I do in the pattern give lots of details on the measurements of the things. So you know that the yoke is 30 centimeters, and I never really understand bottom up sweaters that don't give you the measurement for the yoke or the raglan or whatever, because then you can never adjust the length properly. So yeah, there is a schematic, and several times throughout the pattern at important points I remind you of what you should do to make sure that the pattern fits. Now there are two different things about that armhole, is that it looks amazing on the larger sizes. So if you want to have a look at my testers projects on Ravelry, they all did an amazing job, and those of them who tested the sizes 5 to 7, it looks great on them. Now obviously it's easier for a larger bust size to wear this and adapt this kind of shape, because the length of the yoke will tend to be closer to their natural armhole depth. The thing that changes with your bust size is how long your armhole depth should be. So obviously if you're a smaller size, you might get to armhole depth of like 17, 20 centimeters. But if you're a bigger size, a an armhole depth of 30 centimeters will not be that off from your actual measurements. So it fits really well on larger sizes, and it's easier for them to make sure they get the right fit. Now, if you, like me, are a smaller bust size, you kind of have to take into account several things. One is that you need to get the right amount of ease. I wear mine with about 23 centimeter ease. And this is really important because if you don't get enough ease, then the color work here is going to be too tight and not going to fall off your shoulders nicely. And so you're gonna have issues with the neck riding up because it's too tight here. So it's just going to bulge here and make funny shapes around your neck. So for smaller sizes, you do need to get close to 20 to 25 centimeters, I believe. That's 6 to 8 inches. I'm not sure. Everything is written on the Ravelry page in any case. But yeah, for smaller sizes, you get the most ease, and for larger sizes, you get the least ease because it's, well, from what I'm reading about grading for different sizes, plus size tend to prefer less ease because such a huge amount of fabric does not give the same effect. That is also why the boxy type sweaters, they tend to have loads of ease for smaller sizes and then a bit less for the larger sizes. So when you look at the measurements of the sweater, which are the finished bust measurement, you do have to take that into account, that if you want loads of ease, just make sure that you incorporate that when you choose the size. And besides the ease things, there is the sleeve and the body length. Now, the patterns, knitwear patterns, are graded for the bust size, and it is unrelated to your height. So it's not because you have a bigger bust size that you're taller, and vice versa. So I cannot, to me it seems really misleading to tell you that if you're knitting the 130 centimeter bust size, you have to do a longer sleeve, like, and give a definitive length. I don't know how tall you are. You do. And so what I like to do in my sweater patterns, and especially in this one, since it has that peculiar low armhole, is to really give you points where you need to measure. So you know that this is 30 centimeter, so you can tell where it's going to fall. And then you can measure for yourself where you want your sleeve, if you want it to be long, cropped, and just how long your arm is. And same for body. I don't know about you, but when I follow another pattern, another sweater pattern, for the sleeve length and the body length, I just never respect it because it doesn't fit me. Often the sleeves are way too long, and sometimes the body is often too short. Now, I'm not especially tall. I'm 1 meter and 67 centimeter, which is 5'4". I don't know. Please tell me. Should I say 5'4" or 5'5"? Because when I do the conversions, it says 5.47, and I don't know which I should say. So I'm like 5'4.5". I'm not sure of how you're supposed to say these things. So yeah, I think I'm quite in the average for my European French kind of height, but yeah, you are not necessarily the same height as me. So if I decide that for size 3, which is what I'm wearing, you need 40 centimeter sleeve, that might not be the case for you, because if you're smaller than me, well then you're gonna have terribly long sleeves. Mine are rolled at the moment, but if I unfold them, you can see that they fall right here, which I kind of wanted because it's like this big and cozy, more outerwear garment. But yeah, so you have to measure yourself. Please don't knit this sweater and just blindly follow the measurements that are in it, because they might not fit you. For example, I say that for the body you need to knit until it's like 35 centimeters ish. This is just to give you a point. This is what I did. It's just to give you approximately an idea, so that you're not measuring every 2 rows, you know. So you just know that you kind of have to knit until it's like around these areas, and then you can see, measure yourself, put the project on a sweater that you already own and fits you, and see where things are. So yeah, do not blindly follow length measurements for sleeves and body, because I don't know how tall you are and I can't know how each and every one of you is regarding your height. So this is the adjustments that you will have to do if you are knitting this sweater. Just take into account your own wishes, and you might want super long sleeves just because you like to have them cozy like this, or you might be more petite and need a really cropped body so that it doesn't go necessarily over your bum. Mine is hitting, well, I can't tell much, but is hitting about at the middle of my hips. So yeah, in the pattern and with the help of my testers, we really focused on that, and I am really happy because I was able to put out really clear and precise points where you would need to check these things. I'm sorry, there seems to be, oh dear God, I hope they're not going to make some heavy work while I'm recording. Anyway, I hope you can't hear that too much. But yeah, in the pattern, all measurements of the actual yoke length and everything are given so that you can make sure that it fits you. And I highly encourage you to check the testers' notes, because some of them said well, what type of body they had, how tall they were, and how they adapted to themselves. So yeah, that is the major thing I wanted to address about this sweater, is that if you want to knit it, please carefully read the fitting notes that are on the fitting page of the pattern. But yes, besides that, it is fairly easy because it has a simple construction, so you could also easily adapt it. Say you don't want the low armholes, you could crop it here and separate here, and it would be very easy to spread the colorwork yoke, because the numbers are very straightforward as far as sizing goes and how many repeats you need for the yoke. So yeah, let me just show you again the colorwork. It is fairly simple. It doesn't have too many long floats, but yeah, the decreases of the sweater are done in between the motifs, so you don't have to handle the colorwork and the decreases at the same time. And yeah, some of my testers wanted to do 3 colors versions, which look amazing. Some of them made this little bit here in a different color, and they kind of mixed things up here as well, and it looks really cool. And yeah, if you need some color inspiration, I highly encourage you to do that. But yeah, so you can see this is how cozy and smushy it feels, and I've been wearing it over the winter as an outside garment, just when it wasn't cold enough for me to put on a coat, and it was really fun. Now there is 2 necklines options, where kind of 3. I have a ribbed, just too close, Audrey, too close. I have a ribbed neckline, and mine is fairly close because I like round necks, and also there is short rows here and here, so you kind of elevate the back. So if you don't want such a, it kind of does a high raised neck, which I really like, but if you don't like that, you can either skip the last row of decreases and it will give you a more open neckline. One of my testers did that, and it's quite visible. You can see that she has more like a neckline that goes like this, which is really nice. She just skipped the last row of decreases, did less short rows and made the ribbing like this. Or you can have a I-cord bind off, and I give instructions for all of these modifications in case you want to modify the neckline. So yeah, it's kind of a custom make up your own sort of one show color working cables sweater. And yeah, it's just that I really love the mix of these two techniques. I think it looks really cool mixing texture and the color work, and yeah, I'm really happy about it and really proud of it, and I hope you like it. And I really encourage you to see my testers versions because they're going to show you how it looks on different bodies. I'll try to incorporate some of my testers photos into the Ravelry pattern page so that you can see at one glance how it looks on different body sizes, and I think that's really cool and really helpful for you if you want to make the sweater as well. So yes, I think that is it as far as construction and things go. Yeah, it is not a complicated knit, it is just one where maybe it will make you a bit more aware of your I really hope you can't hear that motor grumbling. They really chose the right day to do this, didn't they? Anyway, and I couldn't record in the past couple of days because we had plumbers in our bathroom, so that was horrible. Yeah. It is, yeah, maybe it's going to make you more aware of what measurements you want for yourself, and maybe that could help you in the future decide how you want to adapt your knitwear to yourself so that it fits you how you want. I am just not a fan of taking arbitrary decisions based on concepts that are just not true. Like I said at the beginning, if your bust is 120 centimeter, it doesn't mean that you measure over 1.80 meters. You know, it's completely unrelated. And same goes for the neck. It's just you don't have a big neck because you have big boobs. It's just not a thing. But yeah, and same for wrists. It's really tricky to get sleeves right, and often you find that the wrists are disproportionate. So yes, so far I've tried to kind of go into the extremes, as in fitted or like of a balloon shape, until I get enough feedback and knowledge that I can tailor it better and give you the tips on how to make it yours. But yes, like I said, the constructions is fairly straightforward, so it's super easy to adapt and modify. And as written, it is a simple knit, rather quick with the gauge. Even though you're doing cable and color work, you can make it fairly quickly. With the yarn that I use, which is like really light and lofty, it's not that warm. It's about 20 degrees now here. It's ridiculous. Spring is too early. I'm expecting really bad beginning of actual spring. But yeah, it's not keeping me that warm. It's just cozy if I go outside and cuts off the wind, but inside I'm not too hot. It's just, yeah, I really like the Brusca yarn for this, and I might be using it some more into the future. So yes, Rumi. Now about the name, if you've been watching my podcast for a while, you might remember that in December when I talked about it, so I came through that word from the Quechua language, because it means stone in Quechua, and I have some old books from my linguistic and academic past about the Quechua people and their language, and I remembered it meant stone in Quechua, and it kind of, Jesus Christ, And it kind of reminded me that I've heard that word before, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. And I've done some research and dug some more into my, more specifically, Latin and French languages, linguistic courses. And yes, I found it again, and I remembered where I had come across it. And so Rumi is a word that is, so it's R-U-M-I, and it's a word that is found around the Mediterranean languages, because it comes from Rome. Rumi, Rome. It's a derivative from that. For example, in Arab, it designates white people, or more specifically Christian people or pilgrims. I found that is also apparently another word for the Latin alphabet in Indonesia. Makes sense. Latin, Rome, Christian, Rumi. So, yes, and it kind of spread, obviously, with the more or less nice cultural exchanges between the Arab cultures and the upper Mediterranean cultures. It kind of spread into the Latin languages. And Rumi in ancient French, and more specifically in Occitan, which is my regional language from the southwest of France, it designates a traveler. I found old letters written in Occitan, and yeah, I remember that's how it kind of got into my head. And they are using the word to talk about a man who's not stable, as in not good to marry for their potential daughters, because it means traveler, it means someone who is leaving or someone who is arriving from a different place. That's why it also often refers to pilgrims. I hope I'm saying that word right. But yeah, that is why I called that pattern Rumi, because I just felt it was like, I really liked the stone application of the Quechua language. And then when I realized and remembered what it meant in ancient French, it is sometimes written with an O, because French evolved to make the U sound, O-U, instead of just U. But in Occitan it is written R-U-M-I. R-U-M-I. It sounds like a sentence. R-U-M-I. What's M-I? Anyway. And yeah, it just all fell into place with kind of the arrows and the little trees on the way, and the journey of swifting through the cables and getting the right fit for you and everything. It just felt right. And so when I mentioned early on the name for this sweater, someone was very kind in the comments to let me know that it was the name of a really famous and iconic Persian poet, Rumi. And so I kind of, if I'm correct, it was not his actual name, and he was nicknamed Rumi because apparently he came from one of the last Eastern Roman Empire region. So Roman, Rumi. Apparently that's what it comes from. And I realized since then that he is very well known, especially in the United States. And I had no idea about his existence or his work. Kind of very lacking. Like there's a huge blank spot in the passing of culture in France and in general in Europe about different cultures, especially from the Middle East. But it's my responsibility to educate myself, and I'm so happy that someone mentioned it to me, and a couple more people have told me about him, and I have since then checked his work and really appreciate it, and I'm always happy to discover new work. I'm not such a poetry fan, and it was a bit tricky to find appropriate translations. I first looked into French translations because it's difficult to read poetry in a language that does not have the same codes as your language. But I couldn't find anything in French, so in the end I was able to find a few resources in English. And yeah, I really appreciated making that discovery. But yeah, I just want to make it clear that the pattern was not named after Rumi the poet. It is named after the word Rumi, which means traveler in Occitan, ancient French. So yes, that is the origin of the name. And I've been talking for about 20 minutes about that sweater, and that is way too much. So, yeah, I think I've said everything. There is a little coupon code if you wish to get the pattern. It is the code, well, Rumi, and it will get you 15% off the pattern until this Sunday. So, yeah, I will write everything in the description and put the link there if you want to go and have a look and see the testers versions to get some inspiration. And yeah, if you have any questions, because I know I said a lot of things that were maybe a bit messy regarding the fit and everything, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm always happy to discuss and improve on these questions. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it about that. I am going to move on to my next project, which is a finished object, and it is the Flora Social, which, if you remember, I have said it a couple of times, I was reknitting. It's one of my previous designs, and I was making a new sample out of yarn from Papi Put yarn, which is a dyer from Indonesia. I just put it off the blocking. It's just dry right now. It smells so nice. I'm going to let it relax a little bit from the pinning. And yes, it's a 2 skein fingering weight shawl, which with this elongated boomerang shape, and it starts with striping, and it has a big section of garter and big eyelets, and then it has this texture motif here that is a bit hard to show on the camera. Trying to get at an angle where the light is doing a decent job. Not easy, like you can see the lines. It's and it's really nice. I am really, you can see if I'm doubling it looks better. There it is. So the colorways I used, this is Abu and this is Smoke Ace, and I really love how it turned out together. I really like it. I need to take pictures of it. Maybe I will do so after I record the podcast. But yes, once I have done that, I will update the pattern so that it shows this new beautiful sample. And it was really fun and quick to do. I forgot how fast it was to knit. And yeah, you can see the texture. It's slipped stitches which are being caught on the fabric, on the right side of the fabric a little bit later. And yeah, it's really super drapey and nice. It's easy to adapt if you want to use more or less yarn, especially of your the last color, the second contrast color. And yeah, I really like it. I need to figure out what kind of pictures I want to take, what kind of outfit I want to wear. Because it's easier to take a picture of a sweater because you just chuck the sweater on. But for a shawl, I always have to think like, okay, what can I put under it so that it's nice, but it doesn't take away from the shawl, or it doesn't look too bland either. Have to figure this out. But yes, this is Flora Sol, and it is done, and I'm very happy to have a nice new bright sample. I used less yarn for this one than I did for my first sample. I think I I'm knitting a bit tighter again compared to what I did, even though I still used 4mm needles. But yeah, it still made a pretty nice, sizable shawl. And yeah, I am going to photograph it later. Looks really great with that sweater, Audrey. That's terrific. But yeah, you can kind of see it wears really nice. I really like the boomerang shape. I kind of want to make more, but the thing is, it is so tricky to incorporate like lace or textures, because since the shape goes like this, so you're decreasing on one side and increasing 2 stitches on the other side, so it goes like this on the bias. It's such a nightmare to chart. Impossible. In fact, well, it's probably possible, but while I was making this, I decided against putting a chart, and there is only row by row instructions, which are nice and not too lengthy, so that's fine. But yeah, I tried to make a chart and it just made 0 sense and it looked really complicated. Well, it is not. But yeah, I really like the shape. I just don't want to just do a plain garter thing, and so yeah, I'm kind of fiddling with ideas of putting some simpler lace perhaps, or smaller sections of lace, so that it's not as tricky to write row by row. We'll see. But yeah, Florasol is done, and again, I really liked working with Papi Put yarns as usual. I have enough leftovers to make a pair of socks, so I think I will do that with using the grey as a contrasting cuff, heels and toes. And yeah, can't wait to take pictures of this and show you. But yeah, this is what I've been working on in my personal knitting time, because I have a problem with my Shitfy sweater. So I have been knitting the Shitfy sweater from Andrea Mowry, which is a sweater pattern with mosaic textures that uses a bunch of different contrasting colors. And so where to start? So I have a background color, which is, oh my god, it's such a mess. I'm sorry, it's just that I have two balls attached at the moment. I have a background color, which is this grey, which is Malabrigo Arroyo in Plomo, which is like a really nice nuanced grey. And my original idea for the contrast color, let me try and grab my swatch, was this. And it looked really nice as a swatch, you see, it wasn't weird at all. It looks cool. The thing is, my first 2 colors, these are all yarns by Cosmic Strings, which are dyer from Edinburgh. My first 2 yarns are these 2, which are fairly close. And so I knitted, you've seen this before, I knitted most of the sweater, and came the point where I needed to switch to incorporate my last contrast color. And so I did, and it's this one. It wasn't working. As much as I really love that color, it's the problem with it is that it wasn't contrasting enough with the grey. And so while you had a very nice contrast between these 2 and these 2, when I switched to this one, it just looked like there was no more contrast color that was doing the mosaic bits. And so it wasn't working. I wasn't happy with it, and so I undid that. And I tried another color, which I'm going to grab because it's currently being used in a blog project, which is this one. Which is still Cosmic Strings. Yes, I have an astronomical quantity of their yarn. And you can see that this is the right type of contrast. However, this was too yellow, and it really looked too different as I was knitting it to the other one. It just made this you don't really see it as a cake, which is why I thought it would look good. But it was just making this yellow band stripe out of nowhere, and I wasn't happy with that either. And yeah, I really like how subtle and gentle that is. This is super wearable. Yes, it might not be as fun as the crazy color combo that you've seen of this sweater, but I actually really like that this would go with pretty much anything. It would be really easy to wear. And so I really need to find a color that is very close to these two. So I have ordered a skein of Cosmic Strings in a colorway that I think is very similar. And I'm waiting for it to arrive. I really hope it's going to work. If it doesn't, I might end up making a mix of the first two colors to finish the body. But I'm afraid I will not have enough yarn to make long sleeves if I do that. I don't know. But yes, we'll see. So I have started a bit of the sleeve, and again I stopped where I should put the fourth color. And I'm just waiting for it to come and praying that it will fit. The color I ordered is like a really light grey, silvery grey base with a little bit of purple and green speckles, and it looks kind of similar to that, but with purple instead of the dark black speckles. I really hope it's gonna work. And yeah, it's just so funny how it looked cool as a swatch, but in the sweater it just looked weird. So hey, I just decided I really wanted it to not have regrets with that sweater, because I really love how it's looking now, and I really love how this is like cold and it's very gentle, and you don't see it as much in the camera, but this is very cool, silvery, and then here you kind of have a little bit more greenish aspects, but it's very gentle, and that's what I want as well for the last color. I think what makes it more difficult for me is that my background color is semi-solid. Of course, if your background color is also a variegated yarn, it's probably going to even out things. But with it being just grey, if I have something that's wrong with the contrasts color, it shows. So yeah, this is on pause while I get the last skein, which hopefully will be the hero skein. Yeah, I hope it should come this week. It should come this week. It comes from Edinburgh. But yeah, I hope it's going to work. And yeah, I really love that color, which is the colorway Nausicaa. And I have an idea for this, and I hope it's going to work. But yeah, fear not, because this gorgeousness will also be used hopefully soon. And yeah, okay, I'll just shove everything there and figure out how to entangle it once I get the last skein. But yeah, that is on pause at the moment. And while this is on pause, I have decided to use, well, that skein since I caked it. This is the colorway Blue Moon, again from the sock base from the Cosmic Strings. And I have started, I'm sorry, I have issues with my timer. I have started a pair of Kia socks, which is a pattern by Dawn Henderson, and it's just a simple pair of textured socks. As you can see, it's alternating little pearl bumps and knit bumps. Can't really see anything. But yeah, you can kind of tell how yellow it is right now. And yeah, if I show you the reverse, it's maybe gonna be a bit more. Yeah, it was too yellow for the sweater, but it works really well as a sock. I am knitting on 2mm needle. The Kia socks are a free pattern on Ravelry. They're a nice and easy texture pattern, and yeah, I'm knitting the 64 stitches size. And yeah, I just started doing that, and I'm just going to hop along slowly but surely when I have some downtime. And yes, I will quickly show you my last project, which is the Saule shawl, which is a shawl design I'm working on. Everyone has been very excited about. Thank you so much for your kind words about it. It's happening. It's becoming quite the blanket. So this is a shawl design I'm working on, and it now has a shape, which I don't know what it is, but it is a shape. It is, hold on. So I started at the point here, if you remember, and I increased until it became this unreasonably long, wide, more wide than long, wide blanket type thing. Then I knitted straight for a little bit, and I'm currently decreasing again. So I have decided, if you remember last time, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do on the main shawl body. I didn't want it to remain only garter, so I have decided to do everything. And I have placed these little row of eyelets, and in the center here I've put these eyelets are to attach small tassels at the end. So at the end I will add tassels, and then I mirrored the other little sections of eyelets, and now I'm just decreasing and decreasing, still with the really pretty border here with the leaf motif and the little plait cable. And now I have memorized the leaf motif, and I know I don't have to follow it anymore, so it's going really smoothly, and it's really nice. It was a bit tricky to figure out how to explain the eyelet sequence. It's just the most simple things to knit, and it's always silly to explain because you feel like you have to give row by row instructions, and it's just silly. And I didn't want the shawl to become a focus project because I'm using my needle as a pointer. The idea was that the shawl would be simple to knit, even though it had this really, really nice leaf motif. And I really wanted you to be able to only keep track of the leaf chart. So I made a video, I said last time, to help you read the cable, and I just put information. So there are the row by row instructions in case you want to count rows, but I've put I've counted garter bumps. So the pattern will tell you, if you don't want to count the rows, count the garter bumps, and you need that many garter bumps until you do the next eyelet. So for example, here you need 3 garter bumps. Here, if I remember correctly, I think it's 10. Here it's 12. Here it's 10 again, I think. And yeah, then it's mirrored. So yeah, that's what I did, and hopefully it will be fun to knit without you having to have 2 counters. But yeah, like I said, I memorized the leaf cable. I'm decreasing, so it's going faster and faster, and yeah, I am really enjoying it. I will need to block it, and then I will need to make a video with the tassels to show you how to attach the tassels. So yeah, this is on the works. It's getting really nice and blankety. I really like it. It's going to be so cozy. It's going to be really a blanket thing, and you're gonna be able to fold the top, I think, if you want to get like all wrapped up like this. I am using Mowry yarn Falkland Merino fingering weight. Mowry yarn is a natural dyer, and this was dyed with madder. of course it was dyed with madder, but with madder more specifically. And yes, it's so nice and such a subtle color. I really like it. And yeah, I hope I'm going like chop 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 with it. I hope to be able to call for testers soon. Regarding that, I am changing the way I do my test calls. So if you want to ever test a pattern from me, I am making a list of people who are interested, so a mailing list. So people who are on that list will receive first informations about design that need testing, and they will be able to apply if they're interested. If they're not, we'll just skip it and wait to see if something interests them in the future. But yeah, and so maybe that way I will get the testers, and if I don't have enough, then I will try and make a more public call. But if you ever are interested in testing my patterns, please send me a message either on Instagram or on Ravelry and give me your email address. But don't put it on the YouTube comments. Don't put your emails on YouTube. But yeah, send me a message on Instagram or on Ravelry with your email, and I will add you to the list, and you will be notified when I have an open testing call. So that is how I will do it from now on. I hope it's nice for those of you who are not on Instagram, and I know sometimes you can miss things on Instagram. So that way, if you really want to test my designs, you can. You'll be sure to receive an email. So yeah, if you're interested, please do that. And this, I hope, next week. I hope that I need to make the videos and I need to block it. I need to finish it because I'm not quite done yet, because I need to decrease all of this and then figure out how to mirror the point so that it matches the little triangle at the start. But yes, this is the Saule shawl, and it's nice and squishy and it's huge. It's gonna be so huge. And yes, with that, I believe that I have said everything. Yeah, it was quite an information-packed episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I will see you next time. And thank you so much for watching first. I want to make a little post-scriptum thing, because I know some French people are watching the English episodes as well, or you might be an English-speaking person and coming. I will be attending a festival in Lyon, which is in the middle east of France. People say southeast. Lyon is not in the south. Stop having ideas. Lyon is in the middle. It's kind of a joke, because yeah, it's like people really want to live in the south of France because it's supposed to be sunny and cool, and so they start saying that they're in the south as soon as they're below Paris. It's like, it's not the south, it's the middle. You're not in the south. Well, anyway, Lyon, which is a really nice city which I have never been to and always wanted to see. And there is going to be a festival here called Knit It, knitting and eating, and I will be attending it. So if you are there too, I will be there on the Saturday and a Sunday. I am arriving Friday night and leaving Sunday night. So I will be there attending it. I will be there probably all days, because there's food in the festival, so I will not have any reason to leave. But yeah, if you do come here and see me, come and say hello. It will be my first time attending an actual yarny knitting festival, so I might be a little bit dazzled and awkward, because yeah. But yeah, if you see me, please come, and I would love to have a chat with you and yeah, get to know more people, because yeah, I have never met any. I've met one other knitter in my life. That is so sad. But yeah, yeah, don't hesitate to come and say hi. If you can't attend, I will make another podcast when I return from there, and I will definitely share, because it seems to be a really nice festival. There's lots of really nice names coming as far as dyeing, yarn dyers and yarn shops, and a nice array of popular indie dyers. La Bien-Aimée will be there. Aimée will. There's her, she's gonna be there, which is super cool. And then there's also smaller producers of more natural yarns. There's yarn shops coming with more rustic, different options of yarn, and then there's food. And so who knows, hopefully the festival is going to develop, and it's in Lyon, which is very accessible all throughout Europe. There's an airport. It's the second or third biggest. I don't know if Marseille is second or if Lyon is second biggest city in France. It's quite accessible from Germany and from everywhere else within Europe. And so yeah, if it's a nice little festival, maybe it could become a thing. But yeah, if you are attending on the 6th and 7th of April this year, I will be there, so come and say hi. Yeah, thank you, and bye bye.